How's it going, Jesse?
Hello, how you doing?
Good, good. Theo and Angie are outside for a potty break right now, so they'll be joining shortly.
So how'd it go with implementing all the new stuff with Theo?
Went well, I feel.
Good.
Yeah, he's still sometimes he'll like walk into his crate like willingly, and then sometimes he'll like go in there, like you're like, hey, I don't want to force him in there, but like you put him by it, he'll like walk in there, but then you walk away and he still kind of like whines, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
How long have you had him again?
It'll be 2 months, I believe, this week, this Tuesday, for 8 weeks.
Um, and when you put him in and he cries a little bit, like is it a couple of minutes? Is it
Yeah, it's
15
nothing like
minutes?
excessive. It's nothing excessive, but like he was napping, so I put him in there. He went in there willingly. He was quiet for a little bit, but then once he heard me like walk from the living room into the bathroom and he knew I was there, then he started whining again. And like when I stepped out, like just to run to the store quickly, like he was barking so loud I could hear him like outside of the
Mm.
building, you know. So
Was
I don't know
nobody
if
home?
he. What's that?
Was nobody home?
No, nobody was home.
Okay. So once Angie gets back with Theo, we'll talk about um, just kind of addressing any. Or did we talk about it last time? Did we talk about correcting them and like bonking stuff?
No, no, we didn't. But I watched your video with
Okay.
that wrinkles, so I bought those the pet corrector cans.
Yeah.
They work like a charm.
Okay.
Yeah, he actually. I think. I mean, I don't make a big deal about it. I try to actually be like discreet about it and like spray it. But like
Hmm.
he already recognizes that what the can means, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because he like knows he's not supposed to do stuff. So if I look at him, he'll like look at me and like debate, but then sometimes he'll get testy, you know?
Yeah. So, um, so did you watch the entirety of Wrinkle's video, or did you just watch a section of it?
Just the first video, but I watched the whole thing, yeah, about the bunker and like wrapping up a towel and stuff like that. So
Correct. Um, yeah. So we'll talk about corrections and how those things work, like kind of how to say when to escalate, how to escalate.
yeah,
Um, because I know people think that or afraid that they're gonna like psychologically or emotionally like traumatize their dog.
oh yeah, not me for sure. I think Angie actually that'd be a good conversation for her because I know in the beginning like she was kind of like, no, because then he's not going to like us or whatever. But I feel like since we've implemented, after I watched your video, I made my own version of the bonker. And it's always like the plants and then the garbage in the bathroom that he's like always like going for, like.
Sure.
And I feel like he's definitely more respectful since that was implemented. You don't overdo it. You don't like make a big deal about it or, so that he doesn't, I mean, he did actually the first time, like hide in the corner, like you mentioned in that video, and was kind of like, ooh, but now I kind of, all I'd be like, he would jump on the coffee table as well. And I just like look at him and be like, Theo. And he looks at me, thinks about it for a sec. And then I was like off and then he got off. So like, I think he's understanding the association and like knowing what he's supposed to do and not do, just trying to see what he can get away with still. You
Yeah.
know?
So with dogs or puppies, I tell everybody they're a 3 to 4 year old child,
Yeah.
like forever.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so and toddlers can be testy about stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
So but we grow up, we were mature, and at some point like uh, decide like, okay, I'm just not going to do that anymore for the most part.
Yeah.
Whereas dogs are like forever stuck in that mindset.
Hmm.
So nothing out the ordinary. I mean, it's pretty standard stuff for a puppy. So,
Yeah.
anything else with Theo?
Um, he had some diarrhea today and vomited.
Okay.
So I think it might have been Angie took her to her dad's work, and I think they probably were feeding him stuff under the table or something like that. That's what I would imagine.
Hmm.
The vomiting has gotten better, but he still has like really watery poop. So I'm guessing now he just ate lunch a little bit ago, and I'm guessing he's about to go now. So I'll see if it's starting to form up again. But really didn't sleep last night because he kept whining because he had to go or either throw up or have
Sure,
diarrhea.
sure. Which, and you probably did this yourself, but um, if you notice, like he's sick and not doing well,
Yeah.
and you have to run him out middle of the night, like that's fine,
Hmm.
right? It's nothing potty training. It's he's sick and he's got diarrhea.
Yeah.
Um,
He's acting normally though. I mean, he's still like playful and moving around and everything.
Theo.
There he is.
he's pretty. I can't because I have so many like 2-month-old puppies right now that he's a pretty big puppy compared to them.
Oh yeah, yeah, and his paws are pretty big too. Like I don't know. I feel like for a little guy, they just seem huge.
Yeah. How big are we expecting him to get?
I think somewhere between 40 and 50 pounds.
He did
Sure.
poop.
He didn't poop, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, somewhere between 40 and 50. He's a standard schnauzer. So I forgot to ask how big his parents were, but I'm anticipating around that size.
Sure. And you can always shoot them an email to ask or whatever.
Absolutely.
But 40, 50 pounds doesn't sound like anything out the ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
So with the diarrhea stuff, you said that started yesterday?
Overnight.
Overnight.
It was overnight, and did he have
Hi.
any diarrhea yesterday?
No.
No, it was like overnight, yeah. And then this morning I took him out, and he was whining like to go out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I took him out. I figured it was like about 6 this morning, and then he had the
Took him out,
diarrhea.
Like 3 times at night.
Yeah, and he had like projectile vomit. It wasn't even. Well, he did like regurgitate like some food. It was like dry. It was like dried up like food. But then when I had taken him out this morning, it was like liquid, and it was like, it wasn't just like one of those things where they're like kind of thing. It just like came out.
Sure. So for the projectile stuff, had he just drank water before going out, or
did you give him water this morning? He might have. He
I
might
did,
have.
but
Yeah.
he didn't really want it.
so? This is just FYI because my pit does this from time to time. If she drinks too much water too quickly, drink the water, and like 3 minutes later, she'll be laying down. And all of a sudden,
Yeah, that might have been.
And I also gave him some. Well, my dad gave him some human food.
This was yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because we were trying to. He was
during the day. He gave him some human food.
Sure. I'd ask what he gave him if you don't know, and then in case. I'm sorry, sausage.
Yeah, sausage and like how do you say kuska?
Like a dumpling.
Like a dumpling.
That was probably what did it.
Yeah, because he's a pup still. Like he's not, his body's not acclimated to these things yet. That it's not out the ordinary. But the next time Theo were to get like sausage or that dumpling type thing as a treat, just keep an eye. If you get the same response from him, there might be a possibility that his stomach just can't handle that type of food. And I've had dogs, for whatever reason, it's super rare, that they'll eat the kibble just fine and like dog treats, but human food will upset their stomach. Okay. The idea is that it won't, because kibble is essentially meat just processed. But that's happened in the past from some dogs that I've trained. When it comes to diarrhea with puppies, it's fairly common. My suggestion to people is not to worry, which doesn't look like you guys are you understand he had something he wasn't used to. But I do get some owners that they don't know when to become concerned in terms of diarrhea stuff. And I typically give it 3 days. First day is the worst, right? Second day is like 30 to 50%. Third day is like 50 to 70%. And then at that point, you're fine. Okay. If we see it stays just really watery or not, or looking like it's not improving, and I'm watching the dog's energy too. Is the behavior the same? Does he look lethargic? Stuff like that. Then that's where I start to raise the alarm a little bit. And then I'm not sure if you guys know about the chicken and rice diet to help. So if he gets diarrhea, a lot of times what people will do will either, you can take the kibble and mix it with rice to help firm up his stool. And you can also do this, which is very bland chicken and rice. So it's a very bland diet over the course of those days. And it's this, his serving size would be the same as his kibble. So like if he's eating 2 cups of kibble a day, it would be 2 cups of bland chicken and white rice for his daily meal.
Mm-hmm.
And then over the course of those 3 days, you're just feeding him that instead until he recovers. And then you can replace the chicken with the kibble, and then transition straight to the kibble. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like with the vomiting stuff too, like if it's diarrhea and vomiting, there's just a risk of dehydration.
Yeah.
Making sure that he's getting his water. And every now and then, like for my puppy trainer, Maddie, her dog recently just had explosive diarrhea and started vomiting out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked me like, when do you like decide to take the vet? And I go, day 3, day 3 to 4, the dog doesn't look like it's getting better. But then when she talked to the vet, because he kept vomiting, there was a point where he vomited like every 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of the night, they're like, yeah, bring him in. I was like, I've not come across that, but I always suggest people err on the side of caution or do what makes them feel best at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'm not one to worry, so I'll blow stuff off for a bit. Yeah. Well, but I would hate for someone to go, well, Jesse said this, so I'm going to wait, and then something bad happened. And then
it just depends. I'm not really worried about it. I mean, at least from like, I'm kind of familiar with like human physiology, which is similar to a point, but
he's acting fine.
He's acting fine. He's eating well. He had the diarrhea this morning. He threw up once, but he doesn't look like he's sick, and he's drinking well and he's eating fine and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
Until he gets to that point, because I do know that the diarrhea, and if he was consistently vomiting, that there would be an issue with that. But I mean, I think he's fine. Huh?
Enlarged esophagus from the growth, sorry.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is a whole different story. This girl that we know they got a dog from a breeder and they returned it because he had mega esophagus. And she was trying to be all politically active about it and saying that the dog was inbred because they bought it from a breeder. And she didn't sign up for this, so they returned the dog and ended up buying it from a puppy store. It was just like absurd,
PetSmart.
It wasn't PetSmart, it was Petland.
Oh.
What was the mega esophagus?
That's what they said. I guess I was looking into it a little bit because I was like, what, and I guess it's like an enlargement, like their esophagus is like, it's like constricted or something like that due to like, it's like enlarged based on his body size. So sometimes they grow into it. But in the meantime, like it causes them to throw up because I guess like food or something gets stuck in there. Sure. And so you're supposed to like, after you feed them, you're supposed to like sit them up for like 20-30 minutes so it can like go down and digest and that kind of thing. She's like, we didn't sign up for that. How are they going to tell me he's dehydrated, if he's throwing up? How are they going to tell me that? And I was just like,
sure.
Oh my gosh, like. But anyway, it's just interesting how different people take a different approach to it.
Yeah, and me, I'd be the same way, right? I'm like kind of like really, but and at the same time, it's kind of like, well, then clearly not the right home, right? So then if anything else pops up, they're not going to be in it for like the long haul.
Yeah.
As other people are. I get people that rescue dogs from animal rescues or shelters and stuff, and they don't tell them that they have behavior issues. And then after the first couple of weeks, they're like, my dog is like attacking, every dog that comes by. And they'll say like the rescue never mentioned anything, but now there's emotional attachment and they feel bad returning the dog. So then they're committed to like, all right, we got to find a solution. And it's not uncommon either. Like I walk in quite a few homes where they're like, yeah, the dog has all these issues and the rescue never said a thing about it. And then when we called them up, they're like, oh yeah, like, we did tell you. And they're like, no, you didn't. Like we would remember if you said our dog bites people or something like that. So yeah, it's interesting. I've never heard of that. I'll have to look into it myself.
Yeah, but I guess they're trying to make a point. But anyway, that's besides the point. He's fine for now.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
When you picked him up and he walked around, I could see him in the mirror there.
Oh yeah. He's messing with the leash right now. I think he pulled it down. So.
Hey Theo, no spider ding come. Theo, here's your ball.
Yeah, he's just mischievous, for sure.
That's a puppy.
But yeah, overall, like I said, he's been good. He's been really good with people. He hasn't, like, when we had first gotten him, when he would get riled up, he'd get, I don't know. My mom was saying that he was like aggressive, but I was like, I don't think he's inherently aggressive.
No.
I just think he was just like hyped up, and then he would like bite, but I don't think he like intended to do it. He was just like that, but his teeth are so sharp, because he's a puppy and stuff. But he would like be vocal about it and like kind of talk back to you a little bit in a sense.
Yeah.
And
I feel like he's better now.
he's much better. But I don't know if you agree with this, but I watched a video from some dog trainer. I don't remember exactly what it was, but they're saying like in instances like that where you like, in order to like get him to calm down, you like bring him near your body and like hold him by the collar kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there's like two different schools of thought on it, but I tried it out and it seemed to work and didn't make a big deal about it, but just like, hey, like relax kind of thing like that. And it seemed to work. I haven't done that in a while, but what are your thoughts on that?
I've done something similar. I have an idea of what I think the trainer was trying to kind of get across.
Mm-hmm.
I do it a bit differently though. So the reason for grabbing the collar in my approach for a puppy is, have you ever watched any of my videos and I talk about the concept of pressure?
No,
No,
I haven't seen that one. Just the wrinkles one.
So in more advanced training, think of pressure as different types of things. Like, so there's spatial pressure, there's leash pressure, collar pressure, body pressure. If we're doing e-collar training, remote pressure. If we're doing a prong collar, prong pressure. And what it is, so you guys drive?
Yeah.
You ever been on the expressway and you got somebody right on your rear end, really close, right? And you might switch lanes, you might speed up, you might hit the brakes, or you might not do anything, right? But they're so close to you that it makes you feel a certain way that it garners a response. That's pressure, okay? Growing up, peer pressure, right? So for a dog, to settle them, we use the concept of pressure to calm the brain down, okay? So like if the dog is barking, a lot of people will say, shut up, or like, quiet down, and they start shouting, and then it creates more energy because now you're just barking at each other, right? So when I grab a puppy and what I do is I grab the collar and I actually use my hand to sit them down. I don't say sit, I just use the physical pressure of placing them in that position, and they'll get up like 20 times, and you'll see me just 20 times placing them into a sitting position. And eventually they'll sit down and a couple of minutes go by and they'll just lay down and go to sleep. Okay. So what I did was the brain is wanting to act out, be a puppy, run around, bark or whatever. And I'm countering the brain with physical pressure that's saying, put your butt in the ground, right? And I'm saying that the act of playing, zooming around, barking, nibbling, chewing are not options at the moment, okay? Every time I repeat this process, the puppy thinks, well, I tried to do what I wanted, but Jesse just made me do this. That it settles the brain down, and eventually they get so relaxed and they go, well, if I can't do anything, I might as well just chill out. You'll see them go into a resting state. In your case with the dog trainer, it seems like they just held them there maybe for a minute, few seconds. You get them to like calm down. But if you have a really stimulated puppy or a puppy that's very protesty, they're most likely going to wiggle a lot.
He does that sometimes. He does that sometimes when you pick him up. Aside from him being like, I guess, excited, like sometimes we'll carry him in the building, obviously, so that I don't know. Some people get like weird about like having him walk through, but whatever. We'll pick him up and he'll just be like, Sure.
So what you can try as an experiment is if you pick him up, hand him the collar. And here, you got his front legs and his back legs here. And when he starts to squirm, you're just going to firmly hold. You're not going to like squeeze him. You're going to hold him in place and just wait, right? And you might see where he gets kind of squirmy to really squirmy to the point where he's kind of panicking. And you just hold, and eventually they settle. And then when he settles, you relax, okay? So what can happen, and this is something that they do for puppies. when they're trying to figure out who's like their personality traits, like if they're more dominant or not.
Yeah.
One of the things they do is they put the puppy upside down, right? And they like cradle them. And the puppies that are more resistant or fight more or fight longer are
Yeah.
more along the dominant side.
Uh-oh.
And there's some puppies that
Uh-oh.
right? And don't think of dominant as a bad thing. Okay.
Yeah.
It just means more confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Dominance does not mean aggressive. Okay?
Yeah, he'll allow it. He'll like lay on his back. He loves his belly rubs and stuff like that. But if you try to place him in a submissive position, it doesn't seem like he takes to it all that well. He doesn't like
Theo.
like bite and stuff, but he's just like, you know, and like trying to like roll off. I don't know. Should we try it now, or I don't know?
You can try it. So, and it doesn't always mean, it can also be nervousness. I'd have to see it and like work with him myself to really understand.
Yeah. All right, let's see. I'll see. Here you go. And he's like kicking a little bit.
Yeah, and you just hold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, don't mind my lasagna.
I love lasagna. You're good.
See how he's like.
Yeah.
He's not bad. Usually he's like a lot. Maybe because I'm rubbing his tummy.
He seems a little unsure because he's not used to being held that way.
Yeah.
And it's not it just means, so if you have a more confident puppy or dog, it means your corrections may be different than that of another dog.
Yeah.
So, did I give you the puppy example and the puppies with the mom? Did I talk about that?
I think you did mention how she just corrects him, like by biting him.
Okay, so like there's a video, and the video is meant to like show a more dominant puppy within the litter.
Mm-hmm.
So if the mom corrects, 5 out of 6 puppies with one correction and they just give it up, easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there'll be that one puppy that needs like 5 corrections before it gives it up. So that's the more dominant puppy because it took a lot more corrections to get the puppy to quit.
Yeah.
Right, because it's so confident.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with like Theo, is that, and this kind of transitions well into the we were going to talk about corrections,
mm-hmm.
and then when to escalate and how to escalate. So I know you got the pet corrector, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you might find,
yeah, it does. He just looks at it and he's like, ooh, he backs away.
You might think that, or you might see currently that, Theo is susceptible to it, but maybe when he gets older, he outgrows it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's just a sound, and maybe you have used the actual like spraying his hindquarters yet, or is it just a sound?
No, just a sound.
Okay.
And he'll like jump and then like walk away from it.
So like, let's say you keep using it, and then one day you use it to correct Theo, and he just is like, whatever. Yeah. He's like, I'm a big boy now. That's nothing, right? Now he's beyond the sound. Is we have to make it mean something. So to empower the pet corrector, what I do is I spray it on the rear end by the tail. Mm-hmm. And since it's such a weird feeling for them, they freak out, right? And it's really unpleasant. So now the hissing sound has a physical connotation or something that he relates to. Like he's like, I felt that, I don't like it, right? So then you might find that the hissing or the sound itself becomes powerful again because he's like, well, I don't want that to touch me, right? But at some point, maybe he outgrows that too. So now it's like, okay, cool, this worked up until this age, but now we need the next step, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where things like the bonker come into play. Yeah. And you said you've already kind of made one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not an official, the bonker. So you like use it, it's like the rolled up towel.
Oh.
And then you just like.
But don't you think by that, if it doesn't work, he should already know not to do that?
So, and then we were just talking about Theo. In his brain is 3 to 4 years old.
Right.
Okay? Forever.
Forever?
Yes. Forever. Okay. Mm-hmm. We mature. Mm-hmm. He doesn't. Okay. Now, over time, yes, he should opt to do things less and less, but only if he's getting the appropriate correction. Mm-hmm. Okay. For every dog, it's different. So I've only ever had this happen once. in 10 years, I had a lady with a Cane Corso puppy. Okay. Big dog. She's gonna be 100, 110 pounds, I think. Okay. And she was so scared of the pet corrector. It like worked forever for them, even as an adult. Okay. Because she was that soft. Okay. Breed has nothing to do with it. Right. And I get other clients that get like a little Chihuahua and like right off the bat, they don't care about it. Because it's not, the correction for them isn't enough, right? So for most of my puppy clients, it's typically a transitioning phase where they start with one spectrum or one end of the spectrum because they feel uncomfortable physically correcting their puppy in fear that they're going to screw them up, okay? And plus, it feels weird to them because they're thinking they're hitting their puppy, right? And I'm like, you're not hitting, you're correcting. So my mom spanked me, which is technically hitting, but she wasn't abusing me. She was teaching me a lesson, right? In his world, they bite each other, right? So we're trying to actually replicate that, but anything that the puppy deems an aversive and dislikes can be used. But as he gets older and more mature and more confident, some things may become ineffective, okay? So if we find that the pet corrector stops working, well, next thing you know, he's gonna be like, well, you got nothing to stop me now. And seemingly everything he learned not to do starts to come back, okay? But it's not because he didn't learn, it's because he outgrew the correction. So then we look to other things, right? That's why there's prong collars, e-collars, there's the bonker, there's the pet corrector, there's the can of pennies, right? There's like all these things, right? And for me, it's a spectrum. The pet corrector is the softer side of the spectrum. You know, the can of pennies, softer side of the spectrum, unless, I've never heard anybody do this, they were to wail the can of pennies at their dog, okay? That would make it a bigger aversive, right? But then if you hit your dog with a can of pennies, there's a whole thing behind that, right?
Yeah.
So the bonker, because it's a rolled up towel or, you know, or t-shirt or whatever it is that you use, it's firm, but it's soft. So even if you whack the crap out of them, you're not going to break anything. It's a towel, right? But it allows you to correct them firmly without the fear of physical hurt. Does that make sense? Like he's not going to just like bust his head open and start bleeding from a towel, you know? So what happens is, let's say he outgrows the pet corrector and now you've upgraded to the bonker, right? And you're doing firm physical corrections with the bonker, then he goes, crap, that really sucks. Yeah, I'm gonna opt not to do those things now, because now you've matched his level of personality, okay? So like with humans, I remember I had an ex-girlfriend and we got in an argument, right? She was very soft-spoken, very soft personality type. And I just like said something sternly, okay? And she like shrunk up and shuddered. I felt terrible, okay? I felt so terrible. And it was because she wouldn't make a dinner reservation, okay? So I just shuddered. I mean, she shuddered and I felt bad. And I'm like, and then I was like, I'm really sorry. Didn't mean to make you feel that way. I was like, did your parents ever spank you? Like, it was just a question, right? And she's like, no. She's like, they would just tell me like not to do stuff. And then like, I would just not do it. Like she was that soft, right? For me, I got whooped like every day, okay? Scolding did not work for me. I had to be spanked, right? So my personality type is very different, right? So you're going by what Theo's telling you by whether or not he responds, okay? If you do this pet corrector and you find that you're using it less and less, that's progress.
Yeah.
Right. If it feels like we use it every day, 20 times a day, and it doesn't get better, now you're static, or you're using it even more every day because he's becoming more pushy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how you can tell whether or not you're correcting your puppy correctly, which is reversives are meant to deter behaviors from happening again. Okay. So if you do the pet corrector for barking in the kennel, and you find he goes in the kennel and he's quiet for like 2 weeks, I'm like, wow, that was a really effective correction. I keep doing it, right? But if I find it doesn't work and I upgrade to the bonker and I use the bonker when he barks in the kennel or whatever, and I see that gets me the space and time of like, wow, I haven't had to correct him in a couple of weeks. Then I go, great, that's where he's at. Excuse me, in terms of corrections now.
I feel like because he used to like go into the bathroom and dig in the garbage.
Yep.
You always take the toilet paper and stuff. I feel like when we're there, he knows not to like do it now. But if we're not looking, he'll be right in there.
Yeah, because dog and humans were opportunistic, right? So let's say he sneaks off, goes in the bathroom, right? And you correct him, but he keeps doing it. Because you're logical, when you correct him, you're thinking, well, it's just toilet paper, right? So you're going to correct them to that degree. But if he keeps repeating, even though it's just toilet paper and just digging in the garbage, the correction has to be firmer. So then it becomes illogical to you. Does that make sense? So then the correction has to be very firm. You know, where the point where you're like, is this really necessary? Like, do you really need this just for the like garbage bin? And it might be, yeah. You know?
The garbage bin and toilet paper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, you know, if I correct Theo and I keep finding him going back to the garbage bin and sneaking off, then the correction has to be so severe that he's like, crap, I don't even want to try sneaking into the bathroom to do this because that correction really sucked.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Now, if you leave the home and he's alone, and we're thinking in the future when he's like able to be free, and he goes and destroys the stuff, I don't want to say there's nothing that you can do about it, but it's hard because since no one's home, he's like, hey, who's going to correct me now? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And he won't tie it. If you come an hour later and you see the bathroom in shambles and you correct him then, he's not gonna go back in time and think, oh crap, that I shouldn't have given to temptation and gone into the trash can. It has to be as the behavior is happening. Okay. So it's partially puppy proofing. And then also just if you catch him doing something, going outside the realm of logical thought and thinking, well, if he's willing to, because some dogs will take the correction just to do the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's worth it.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's not a bad enough correction, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Or a high enough correction.
That's correct. You know, so let's say like in America, you know, if I go and steal a Snickers from the store, like I might get a slap on the wrist, right? Like it's a Snickers bar, it's $1.50.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some countries where they'll chop your hand off, right? Take a piece of bread. So I sure as hell don't want to steal in that country, right? Because the consequence is so severe, right? But it might seem illogical because like it was just a Snickers bar, but that's not how they run things. So it's like that guy a few years back. He was in China on a college trip, I think it was.
I think I heard it. I think he got put in like a prison camp. That guy. Yeah.
Right. And all he did was in our country, all he did was take I think it was a Chinese Chinese communism
sign or something, right? Or something.
Yeah. And he got put into prison or work prison or whatever. And I forgot for how long. Like the punishment was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And he claimed like he didn't know, and maybe he didn't. But had he known, I'm pretty sure the answer, if whoever like dared him to do it, would have been like, hell no.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but here we wouldn't get that kind of consequence. So you would be more likely to do it here in America than you would be in China.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how your dog thinks.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know, sometimes you have to step outside of human logic and think dog logic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing fine with the pet corrector, great. Keep using it. But if you find like, you know, I do the pet corrector for the garbage bin, but he keeps going back every day, then clearly it's not enough.
Yeah.
There used to be the plant.
Yeah. He went at the plan a little bit the other day. Like when I wasn't paying attention, same thing. Like you lay his eyes off him for 1 second, and then he goes over there. But then as soon as you look at him, he's like, or like he was chewing on on the bar stool that we have that we're sitting on right now, and I heard the noise, and I like look at him, and he just like stared at me within his like stared at me within while it was in his mouth. He like thought about it for a second, and then he let go. I'm like, okay, but yeah, he's still, I guess
Still
sometimes,
chewing on some
yeah. So
Lately, he's been doing that I don't like is when we take him outside, he's holding onto his leash in his mouth.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you can use the pet corrector there, see if he'll like. So when you go out for a walk, right, and the moment you see the mouth go for the leash, you blast him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I just keep walking, and he tries like, and you might see him try to test a little bit. I blast him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he's been doing that lately.
Yeah, and we'll try to like be like, come on, Theo, let's walk or whatever, and then he'll like grab it and like play tug of war with it and like not want to move, And I don't know, I feel like he's never really been that good at walking, probably because of all the distractions out here. But it seems like, yeah, with the leash now is the biggest thing, I guess.
What you can also do is I just keep walking.
Mm-hmm.
If the pet corrector doesn't work, I just keep walking, and I'll take the leash and I'll shorten it and start to pull up to where he's biting it and he's holding up, but then the front legs have a hard time grasping the cement, and he's walking on his hind legs. So then his body weight is pulling his jaw down. That at some point the dogs let go, and then I relax and I keep walking, and then the moment they go up, I do it again. So you're making it difficult to walk. You're making him have to carry his body weight, and you're throwing him off balance because he can't do both.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just keep moving. I don't stop. People, that's the thing with people, is they tend to stop.
Yeah, I feel like that's right.
And they'll like take the dog's mouth and open it and then pull it out, and then he grabs it again, right? Because you have to make him make the decision to think, this sucks, I'm gonna stop doing it and let go. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a common thing. It's he's just being a brat. So
Oh yeah, especially, oh my gosh, when we go outside, he doesn't want to go in or whatever. He doesn't want to walk the direction we're walking. He'll just sit there and be like you just like try to pull him. But yeah, I guess that's like a natural instinct almost for us. It's like, oh, we don't want to like hurt his neck or whatever, pull him across the street,
Yeah. So what I do is, one, I keep walking. Now some puppies will lock up and they'll tumble and they'll be bopping all over the place. Okay. So then the human feels bad because it's cement, right? So I'll tell them,
they're watching me.
yeah. And then there's people, right? So then what I'll do is I'll just pick the puppy up, and I'll go in the grass, like a nice stretch of grass, and do it in the grass. Right.
Yeah.
And I actually have another client who has a pit bull puppy, and they had the same issue last week. And I just saw her yesterday, and she said that it fixed the problem. I just told him, keep walking. I was like, your puppy's 10, 15 pounds, maybe. Like, you're going to overpower your puppy, right?
Yeah.
He's a little bit bigger, but same concept. And you might hear him like gag a little bit, like just keep moving, okay? And unless you see he's doing something in a way, because when they pull back, they're not really cutting off airflow, okay? It's when they pull forward and they put pressure here that we're worried about cutting off airflow, or if you're pulling straight up, okay? If you're going just straight forward, you shouldn't have that problem.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's pretty common. And before I forget, I know you mentioned when he was chewing on the bar stool, and like you looked at him and he kind of stopped and like walked away.
Yeah.
And then also other times where like you'll pull out the corrector to correct him, and then he'll stop, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is you still want to correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because you're trying to teach them, if you want to not be corrected, don't do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what he can learn is, I can chew on this, and if dad sees me and I stop, nothing happens.
Yeah.
Right. So you're trying to teach him that if he's caught, he's going to be corrected. And in my preference, I don't like to say no or stop or anything like that. Okay. I just correct the puppy. So I think I talked about in Wrinkle's video, but the way the dog's brain works is, if Theo is chewing on the bar stool and you catch him and you say, Theo, no, and then you blast him, he thinks, I can chew until you say no.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're wanting to teach him just not to chew, period. At least not on your things, right? So it has to be correction as soon as you see it. Even if he stops, you can continue with the correction. So he's chewing on it. I catch him. He sees me. I get my corrector and I start making way to him. The correction will still resonate because you kept him in the moment. Now, if you catch him, he stops. You get up, walk away, grab it, then come back, and he's already wandered away from the chair. You've lost a moment.
Yeah.
Okay. So as long as he's still kind of in that context, you can still correct. So then he thinks, if I want to avoid the correction, I just don't do the behavior. Okay. It's a tiny detail, but it makes a big difference. Otherwise, you're going to be saying Theo no quite a bit in the home. Okay.
I feel like that's how he started out for sure.
Yeah.
Like, no, and then he just look at you and then just whatever, and keep doing it.
It's better, but I for sure just don't correct him even if he stops, so I should continue.
Yeah, we should probably just keep the can on us, honestly.
Yeah, I keep it nearby, and I don't ever threaten the dog. Like, I don't like wave the can at him, you know. Like, I just go and correct. Because he will learn that game, and he'll learn it quickly.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother thing to address, you know. And the same thing with the bonker. Like, if I see him do something, I just go bonk. Okay. When you want to think eliminate or control with behavior, things that you don't want him to do, period, just correct it. If you want to control it, like, let's say, barking at the front door, because that's security. Bless you. That's a security, right? Or a attribute of his is, I don't want to kill his natural alarm and him barking at the door. So I would say, like, quiet, and then there would be the correction. So it's like, you can bark until I say quiet. Once I say quiet, you're done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, questions about that stuff?
No, I got it. And then this is, for me, it's like the second time I'm hearing it, because I heard it from Wrinkle's video and I took like a lot of notes on that. So
yeah. It's funny. Because, like, it resonates, but then it's very easy to fall back on human habit because you're thinking he's going to understand one day. Yeah. And then it's like, really, no, he's just a 3 to 4 year old kid that's always going to test the boundaries. But he'll get better over time for sure. Okay. And for puppies under 6 months, the bonker, and even older, I use it for adult dogs too. But the bonker is really effective. I just started using it recently, like in the past 6 months to a year, because I knew of it, but I hated the word bonker.
Yeah, I was like,
but then finally I came across a case where I was like, you know what, let's try this out. And it worked really well for them. So ever since then, I've been employing it, and it works great for puppies. So.
Oh yeah.
Any other questions from the week with Theo, or with how he's been doing?
Any questions? Let me look at my notes. I think we were.
No, it's just like, it's more like just trying to work on. I really want to work on, like, him walking and, like, not having distractions. Like, anytime he sees a dog, a squirrel, a bird, any noise, people, like, he's just so distracted.
Anything else, or you want to talk about that?
No, I thought I wrote it in my notes. She told me to write it in my notes, and I'm going to get in trouble because I didn't. I told you so.
I'm like, write this down.
It might have been. I think it might have been him grabbing the leash like that. But yeah. I mean, it's good because I guess he's seeing people and he's, like, friendly with them, but also at the same time, like, you can't just take off and do whatever you want. You know what I mean? I guess depending on what we're outside for. Like, if we're trying to go for a walk,
it takes a long time.
I guess you have to walk, not.
Yeah, not let them lead it by stopping or, like, deciding to sniff every tree or pee on every little thing.
Yeah, or start running and then he'll be pulling and all this stuff. And I know that's, like, really, really common dog problems that are probably something that we can fix over time, and it might not be, like, the number one thing. We're just happy sometimes that he's walking as opposed to just having to drag him,
Sure.
But yeah, it's just kind of, I don't know. We tried to, like, do treats, but it's like he'll only, like, he'll only like focus or come or pay attention in those moments if you have it like right then, you know, but like otherwise, I mean, maybe it's a repetition thing, but you know, otherwise if he's distracted and you don't have a treat or something else to take his attention off of it, that's all he wants to do. And then he doesn't want to go inside because he wants to see what else is going on, you know? And then actually, I think like how you said, how he was whining and then you would take him out. I think he's already starting to learn that concept. Because it was one time I took him out because he was whining, and then he just sat down and was looking around, who's here, who's walking by, you know,
Or I think
smell the air,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah.
later.
Or he'll pee later.
Like not
But
right
he
away.
actually does pee, but like,
He'll wait.
yeah, it's almost like he's not going to do his business. He's going outside because he just wants to change the scenery or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean for sure. He's not meant to be in an apartment.
Yeah.
You know, like he's meant to be out in the wild, you know, hunting his food, you know, finding females in heat, procreating, sleeping underneath the tree, eating, you know, chewing on tree bark, shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So a few things with the walking is before 6 months, I tell people whenever they do their training and their food training, I was like, do it. It's fun. You know, it's good for the puppy, brain development, stuff like that. But when it comes to real life, it's more often than not ineffective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And that's why there's more, how do you say, there's obviously a lot of styles of training, but there's more advanced stuff, right? Yeah. So for the walking under 6 months, if you want to have more control, because what is he on, a flat collar and a leash right now?
Well, he does, but we started him on the harness because we felt like we were pulling him, you know, and it was like hurting his throat, which is, I guess, not the right approach to have because maybe he would have listened better. But then also we've had a problem with the harness that, well, like one time we were walking and there was like a chair by like a building, and he like went under it, got freaked out that like the chair moved because of the leash, and then he pulled himself out of the harness. Now he's running down Ontario. Okay. You know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, and then of course there was these two asshole dogs that live in our building that happened to come out at the same time, started barking. So he freaked out, flipped over, pissed. He bit me because I like tried to grab him. He was just like in a fight or flight kind of mode, and I was like, I had a pretty nice little nip on my finger, and I was like, I don't blame him for it because I don't think he didn't mean to bite me, but it was just like, just way too much stimulation at one time, you know.
Yeah,
it was just a mess. But running, my slides flew off, you know.
Yeah. So the bite was just frustration, and it sounds like you do have a nervous dog on your hands. Okay, it's nothing good or bad. It's just you know, everybody has a stress response. It's like nervousness, fear, anxiety. If I have an anxious dog and they go under stress, you really see the anxiety come out, right? So all of that to me sounds like a nervous dog. And then remember earlier I said it's not always dominance, it can also be a nervous thing with putting them on their back. Yeah. So that all makes sense. Okay. So it's nothing good or bad. Like people think like, well, how do I make the dog unnervous? I'm like, you can't. Like he's a nervous dog, but you can teach them how to process through nervousness and not give into it so easily. But that's more advanced stuff. Okay? Yeah,
I figure.
So, but I deal with it all the time. It's not a problem. So with the leash walking, what I would suggest, so the harness actually exacerbates the problem. Okay. It puts him, it works in his favor because, especially if it's a back clip harness, because when dogs pull, they put the front of their body into it. That's how they direct themselves, right? With the front paws, and they can push with their back, right? So it gives them more leverage because our center of gravity is higher than where he is to the ground, right? So that's why the dogs pull people down like that. And when you have a dog that's nervous, anxious, or fearful, or like dog reactive, the harness can intensify or multiply that emotion. What I was, and I understand because of the throat thing, right? Is for puppies under 6 months, or at least in the meantime until, you know, if you decide you want to do more advanced stuff with them, I use a gentle leader, which goes over the muzzle. It's not a muzzle; it just goes over the muzzle.
We looked it up after, and Angie's like, "Oh, I don't know about that."
Why? What's wrong with it?
I don't know. It's just like that. I feel like anytime a dog has it, I'm like, oh my god, that's an aggressive dog because they want to fight.
No, it's actually meant, it's the positive reinforcement. It's like the best tool for positive reinforcement only methods.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know, because there's no real aversive involved, like a prong collar where there's like the constriction of the prongs, or an e-collar where you have the contraction, right? So for puppies under 6 months, as long as they have a snout, I'll tell people use that for now, you know, until your puppy is old enough, because typically people won't do prong or e-collar with a puppy under 6 months because they feel bad.
Yeah.
But by 6 months, typically they're annoyed enough by the puppy that they're ready to like advance things.
Yeah.
Plus the puppy at 6 months is I'm able to train them to an adult level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And even if things go unchecked now, like I don't make a fuss about it because people always ask like, well, what if we do this wrong or this wrong? I'm like, it doesn't matter because my job is coming in and fixing up dogs that are all screwed up. And I come in at different points. So for me, it's never a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But the gentle leader would give you more control, a lot more control. And you don't have to worry about them like spazzing out and running off or slipping out of it as long as it's fitted correctly.
Yeah.
And it would be good in the meantime, and be way better than the harness.
Yeah. Do you think that eventually, I mean, it sounded like you thought later on we could reintroduce that again then?
Reintroduce what?
Harness?
I would never use a harness.
Oh, okay, ever.
Yeah,
Really?
because so for a puppy, and this is how do you say, this isn't a guarantee. But when I get dogs that are dog reactive or dog aggressive, many times when I'm getting information from the owner, they got the puppy, they put on a harness because they didn't want pressure on the throat. They never formally trained the puppy. So then every time the puppy sees a dog, they pull them back, which creates tension and frustration because they're still a friendly puppy and they want to greet the dog. But then the owner pulls back because they don't want their puppy to annoy the dog, right? And they do this every time. So then the puppy starts to associate negative tension to every dog they see. So over the course of time, it goes from a friendly puppy who's frustrated to a puppy that's now agitated and starting to become aggressive because it just keeps associating negative tension to every dog it sees, right?
Yeah.
So the owner is intending one thing, but the dog is picking up another thing, right? And it gives you the least control. So like horses, they don't, the people that ride the horses don't, you know, how do you say, try to control them with the harness. They have that horse bridle that goes over their face so they control the head, right? You control the head, you control the body. The harness is meant for pulling. It's meant for pulling carriages. You know, huskies pull sleds, or unless you want them to pull tires like they do for those competitions, you know. Harnesses are meant for pulling. Okay, so because even though let's say he walks better and you put the harness on, subconsciously people tend to always do this, that you end up reverse training your puppy or your dog to then pull again. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not saying obviously it's your dog, your rules, but harnesses create more issues.
Yeah. So then, yeah, like you were saying how it can create a negative association if you continuously like pull if there's another dog. Can that still happen with a collar? Because I feel like he is like that. He sees a dog and he's like, whoa, you know?
Yeah, technically yes, right? But it's not as much agitation because it tends to fall to the base of the neck. But that's why I was saying the gentle leader would be your best approach.
Yeah.
So it would be gentle leader's the best right now. Then it would be a flat collar, and then it would be the harness, right? Or a front clip harness, which clips here, so it redistributes the pulling pressure to the side. So then the dog's front legs turn.
Okay.
But it's still a harness. And then the back clip harness would be like the worst. If you have a tiny Yorkie who's like 5-8 pounds, I don't care.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're so tiny and you can just pick them up. But if you have a dog that's going to be 40 to 50 pounds, it's a very big difference.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because he'll get strong.
Yeah. You know, so everybody's concept of what they want their dog to do is different. Every method of training will get you to a certain point. If you're doing positive only, my rule or my suggestion is that the dog is never off leash in an unenclosed area. Okay, so if your life with Theo is we're gonna walk always on a leash and go to the dog park and that's the only time he's off leash or in the yard somewhere, then I go, okay, I don't care, like whatever, right? Because I know if the dog gets off leash, like let's say on the lakefront and he sees a squirrel and the squirrel decides to book it across the street and you're calling Theo waving your chicken and he's like, no, this is way more fun than that chicken, you've lost your dog.
Yeah.
You know, and I've seen this happen at Oz Park a couple of times during training sessions. So it's a very real thing. So, you know, most people go by, but my dog's never ran away. I'm like, yet. You know, that's the thing, yet. When I do more advanced training with the e-collar, because that's the best, that's the off leash, I take my dog anywhere. There's still possibility the dog will decide to just book it after a squirrel. But now I have a tool that goes up to a mile that I can get that dog to come back. Okay, that's the difference. Questions?
All right, no harness.
I mean, I feel like we haven't. For the last 2 days.
Yeah, we haven't, because I took it off and I'm like, he's fine without it, you know.
See, but I take him out and he's pulling. I'm like, oh my god, his neck.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, obviously it's not healthy for his neck because, and it's more so with smaller dogs, you know, the Yorkies and Malteses that they can collapse their trachea. But you know, if you put enough pressure on it, you know, I'm sure damage can be done. I've personally never come across a dog. Oh no, I've only come across like one dog for sure that had damage to the trachea, and it was a Yorkie. And he just would cough all the time. You know, even with the slightest bit of pressure on the throat, he would just start coughing. So, but other than that, like I've never had that issue with other dogs or puppies that I've trained. But as long as they have a snout, I'll put them on a gentle leader. If it's a dog like a pug or a bulldog where that doesn't work, then they'll go to the front clip harness because they have no choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
He has a snout.
Yeah. And if you decide to get that, it should come with the DVD, which teaches you how to, you know, use food to get him comfortable with it. I'm going to suspect that he's going to, or assume he's going to be a little bit more resistant to it.
Yeah.
So the video is to help you get him over it, you know, desensitize him. Otherwise, I just slap it on the dog and then go for a walk. You know, and he might like buck around a bit. I just keep moving, and eventually he's like, well, you know, this is pointless now. Okay. Anything else?
I don't think so. Have anything?
So for next class, I would suggest you don't feed Theo prior, so that he's hungry. And then all we need is a little bit of space, okay, for you to move around and stuff. Have you started any kind of like sit down, come?
Oh, yeah, he's really good with most of it. He learns super quickly. He knows sit, sit, down, paw, speak, but he also sometimes will
Just do all the
tricks at once.
Okay.
Once he realizes, like, you know, that we're going in the drawer with the treats, or like we're pouring, you know, food in his bowl, then he starts doing everything, you know.
Okay.
So he picks up on that super quickly.
Okay. So next class, have him be hungry. Have treats available, you know, chewy treats or whatever, things that he'll ingest quickly. Biscuits are not good because they take too long to eat. And then I'll have you show me what you've been doing with him, and then I'll coach you through advancing what he knows.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
You're nervous.
Nervous?
Yeah.
How we're training.
I actually have to talk to Maria about rescheduling this Friday as well, because I am working. So do you have Wednesday available off the top of your head, or should I just talk to her?
Talk to Maria. Because I know I looked at this coming week and it looked pretty busy, but I think Wednesday looked okay. This past, what was it, Wednesday that we were booked for originally?
Yeah.
Because all the stuff going on with the protesting, man, like it was sirens a lot of the day and helicopters. So you would have just heard, pew, 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 like in the background. So we just rescheduled. So it should be fine. She'll know. Otherwise, she'll put you at the next available time frame.
Okay, that works.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds
Awesome.
good.
It was good seeing everybody. If you need anything else, you let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Good seeing you again.
Take care.
Yes. Sir.